Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Welcome everyone to Startup Grind Greensboro. Woo! So Startup Grind is an event and web series to connect entrepreneurs to folks in their startup community. So each month we welcome an amazing speaker who is either an entrepreneur, an executive, or an investor that talks about what worked, what didn't work, and what they would do differently. And so it is an opportunity that's powered by Google, where you can glean the best wisdom from some of the best in the business. And we are fortunate tonight to have with us Mr. Calvin F. Williams Jr., who is the youngest owner of an active wealth management platform for retail customers. He is the CEO of Freeman Capital.co, which aims to empower millennials and the middle class with the tools to become wealthy. So, I don't know about you all, but I will be listening very intently. Calvin has completed Atlanta's Ascend 2020 Accelerator, Greensboro's Launch Program, and Charlotte's City Startup Labs program. So he's received a lot of support from ecosystems across the country. And at age 12, Williams opened his first business. And at North Carolina A&T, so here in Greensboro, Williams began designing websites. And after graduation, he started XMG Web Designs and built website applications for over 9 years. So he has a lot of experience in the tech industry. And when he's not sort of building his empire online, the Laurel, Maryland native enjoys spending time with his family and his son, his wife and his son. So please give a big Greensboro welcome to Mr. Calvin Williams Jr. He's a CEO and also models on the side. So, Calvin, I think we should really just start from the beginning.
Okay.
Here, I'm going to put this here so they both can hear us. Let's see. So you come from a very enterprising family. So your mom was one of the top 1% of realtors in the nation.
Yes.
And your great-grandparents were land and business owners in the Jim Crow era.
That's
and,
true.
you know, what did their influence have in your decisions, or how did they impact your decisions to start your own business and this entrepreneurial journey?
Well, I would say that it kind of was a very organic thing, because you just grew up with this mentality of just working hard to try and provide the best life for yourself and for your own family. And really starting back with my great-grandparents, Evelyn and George Freeman, who the company is named after, they were able to put aside some money and then recognize that they needed to make some investments within their own community to help those in the community and to help their own family. And so that type of mentality has probably been passed down, and it directly relates to how Freeman was started, with the end vision of making things accessible that may not traditionally be.
Absolutely. And you started, I would say you've been at this entrepreneurial, sort of on this entrepreneurial journey and just a leader for a very long time. So you started at age 12, sort of building your own businesses, but also while you were majoring in computer science at North Carolina A&T, you were building web products.
Yeah.
And let me tell you also what he did. So he mobilized over 700 people to be on his campaign staff when he ran for student body president at North Carolina A&T. So this influence and ability to connect people and really be enterprising, it really is embedded in your DNA. How did those experiences at A&T sort of impact some of the work that you're doing today?
Well, I think that it's a direct relationship, because the way to build a campaign team of 700 people, of college students at that, it really is rooted in understanding what do people want to do. I mean, you all can work and you can play, but people like to be a part of something bigger. They want to have a vision that they can step into to make an impact in their world. And so at North Carolina A&T, it worked out well, because we had some opportunities there, and the students there wanted to be a part of something big. And thanks to them, that's exactly what it was. Now, translating that into entrepreneurship, especially when you're trying to build a team, you have to start from that same perspective of what is the vision that is big enough so that other people can get into it, bring their greatness into this vision, and then materialize it and make it the best that it can be.
Oh, wow.
And that's what we tried to do.
There's a quote that a mentor of mine used to say all the time, that vision is more important than sight. And so giving people that bigger picture is something that's been really it's paid off for you. We talked a lot about market research in the early stages of your company and how important that was. Could you talk a little bit about what that process was like and how valuable it's been as you develop the business?
So after I exited my first startup, I realized that before I did anything else, I had to have a firm foundation of really understanding the market. So I started with a market research firm to really analyze the total wealth management industry here in America. And then by doing that, I was then able to then narrow in on the people and opportunities that were being overlooked. You know, we had over 3,600 phone calls, emails, focus groups, and surveys. And what we found out was that people not only wanted to be wealthier, that's obvious, but they themselves wanted to be a more financially savvy investor. And so taking that step back to understand what the customer really wants, it really led us down this road of providing a service and education, which is partially why people have resonated with this idea.
Wow. You're really responding to the needs of the customer. And I think sometimes when folks get into starting a business or going down this entrepreneurial path, it's really motivated from a place of passion, but is it really solving a problem? And it sounds like that was really how you oriented yourself with this market research.
It definitely was.
Cool. You also shared several other lessons. One of them was that you had to learn that you needed to be patient and that things will take longer than you expected. So what was the origin of this particular insight?
So I think that it really starts from just understanding that entrepreneurship always takes longer than you think it will. There was a book that I read, but there was a book that I read in middle school called Accidental Empires. I don't remember who wrote it, but I read it, and it basically detailed like how Microsoft was built, how HP, all these firms, and there was one quote that really stuck out to me, which is that an overnight success on average takes 10 years to build. And so understanding that and then really resonating with that, I could understand when setbacks happen. So one that happened was, I'm super excited, we launch or we're getting ready to launch, and then because we are regulated, we got audited like 2 weeks after we were set to open up. Which was shocking to me, because I was like, why are you guys auditing me? So a team of auditors flew down to here in North Carolina. I said, you all spent more money in airfare than I'm even managing.
Wow.
And so that audit took 9 months. And it really was a major setback. In the minute that it happened, I mean, I was mad and frustrated, but looking back, it made the company better because we understood the regulatory environment that we were operating in, and we built automation to make our processes smoother. And so when you are looking at the time that it takes and realizing that if you can find something to learn in every setback, then you really will be set up for the next move.
I also hear growth mindset in that, and really not sort of being fixed on the problems.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
So in addition to the market research and being patient and sort of understanding that things will take longer, you also shared that you would have spent less money in the beginning. Why is that?
Well, I think that when I was first starting out, I had a vision of what I wanted it to be, and that I thought that it would be better for me to keep more of the equity, keep my vision a little bit smaller and just do it more myself. But I quickly realized that, there aren't enough hours in the day for me to get this vision as fast and as big as I would like it to be. And I ran out of money. So when I ran out of money at that time, then it really shifted my perspective of what is the best way to bring this service to the market. The customers need it. They've been asking for it. I need to think in a more inclusive and collaborative way. And so it really thought, but then I really went down the road of how can I build the best team possible, even if I may not own the whole pie.
And so you offer equity in exchange of the cash. And how did the team receive it?
So it's, they received it well. So one thing that's very kind of, at least people tell us is very unique about our startup is that we have a pretty big team. It's about 15 people work on our project. Now, once I got to that point of shifting, I just went all the way in. And so my thought was rather than try and find 2 or 3 people to work on this full time and burn them out, I know it's going to take some time. Let me build a team and have more people carry the load. And so this way, each person is working, 20 to 30 hours instead of everyone having to commit fully to get us to where we need to be. So it really has provided us an opportunity because now we have more hands building instead of just having a couple trying to do everything.
Totally. One of the things I remember you sharing too is it gave you a sense of the loyalty of the folks who you have brought on to join the team, is that they were willing to accept this equity in exchange for the cash too.
Yeah, and that was hard to ask in the beginning because I had been used to just paying them and it worked well, like it was a contractual relationship. But it came to the point to where I asked them if they would be willing to step into the vision fully. And then every time someone said yes, it just further inspired not only myself, but the whole team to work even faster and push even harder.
So shifting to a different type of equity,
Yeah.
We talked a little bit at the beginning about this sort of ancestral pool to create something that's accessible and really investing in your community and
Right.
resourcing folks who may be marginalized. So you've really been intentional about making diversity, inclusion, and equity a unique value proposition for Freeman Capital.
Right.
What sort of impact has that had, and why do you think this is an important value for your business?
I think that in this time, there has never, this is the information age, and so you have more information that is available than ever. You have more opportunities that are available than ever. But if you don't have the financial means to take advantage of those opportunities, then you and your family are going to begin to fall behind. And I look out into America as a whole. You have the wealth of the middle class declining, and they don't have access to tools to help them increase their wealth so that they can just keep up and then try to exceed that in the future. And so really trying to take it from the perspective that if we don't solve these problems for each other, then we as a country and as a whole are going to be worse off. And so we see providing financial security and financial advancement as not just a focus on the finances, but a way to make impacts in quality of life, education, and health. And if we can do those 3 things, then we've really moved the needle and we have achieved some of our real goals.
Many entrepreneurs are reluctant to take the risk because of responsibilities to support their family or others. I know that your wife and you had some conversations very early in your relationship about this path. For folks who have families, for folks who are partnered, how did you all handle those conversations?
Yeah, so before we even got married, it was really, and even engaged, it was really important to me that she knew the crazy guy that I was. Now this is bad dating advice, what I'm about to say, but it worked for me.
Yeah.
So many of you have probably seen or heard of the movie The Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah. There's a scene in The Pursuit of Happiness when, I forget the guy's name right now, John?
I can't think of it.
Doesn't matter. He is in the bathroom crying with his son, right? That's a really big scene, right? So I said, hey, babe, come over, let's have a movie night. So we're having a movie night, and I'm pausing the movie at certain times to ask for her feedback. I said, hey, babe, if this happened to me and my business tanked and I'm lying on the floor in the bathroom, how would you respond? Because she left in the movie. And then she said, well, you wouldn't be on the bathroom. We could at least move into my parents' house. I said, you're the right one. But she knew what she was getting herself into, and we've been very transparent on that. So she may not work on the business every day, but she is a part of it and knows what's going on, because anyone that is a spouse or in a relationship with someone that is doing entrepreneurship, they ride the highs and lows, maybe even worse than the actual entrepreneur. So that is really how we've been able to do that. And at least for my team and for my wife too, I've tried to be very careful about managing the balance that's on our family and on my team's families. That's partially why I wanted to grow us to have a larger team, because then the burden is less for all of us, because we all want to have a personal life as, kind of as well. So
absolutely, balance is important. I'm gonna have to keep that in mind whenever I'm,
And you can show them the pursuit of happiness.
Exactly.
Too.
So tips.
That works. That works.
Now, what's also been ringing in my ears since we spoke was that money matters.
Right.
And so you've had an opportunity to participate in several accelerator programs, and you often encourage entrepreneurs to get as much traction as they possibly can, as soon as they can,
right,
because that's what investors want to see. Would you talk a little bit about that in your own journey and why that's so important?
So I think that we in the various ecosystems can get caught up in a few startups who have a lot of users, and then they get funded. You hear about Snapchat, you hear about, Google, of course, and those types of firms where initially they have no real revenue model, but they're just going to try and get scale and then make money. Well, as a founder, I have found early on that it's very hard to pitch those types of companies. You have to fit a certain type of mold to even get past that. But if you can come with a business model and one that is generating cash flow, it's going to be that much easier to get interest, because cash rules. And so focusing more on how do I build revenue streams and not just how do I get eyeballs or how do I build up followers or users, because at the end of the day, the investors are investing to get a return. And so you need to focus on delivering that in the very beginning, not on just trying to have as many downloads or users as you can.
That's good advice. One of the industry that you're in is financial tech, and I feel like it's sort of the promised land in tech right now. Why is this an industry to watch? And for those that are interested in being a part of it, what factors do you think people need to consider?
Well, I think that this is an industry to watch because technology has advanced so many other industries. And so now we're getting to the point to where you're seeing technology being applied in finance in ways that are creating new products like cryptocurrencies that are revolutionizing how processes are built with blockchain. And so there is a lot of opportunity here, but the biggest thing is the regulation. And so, even for Freeman, it took us 2.5 years to just get the regulation really under control to where we feel comfortable taking the next step. And so if you're going to play in this sandbox, you just have to have the understanding that you are going to have to either learn by trial about this environment that we are operating in, because it's not just about people's money, but people's trust. And that cannot be violated. And so if you're not going to learn it the long and hard way, then it's really about building a team of people that can complement you in those areas to help you get going. But if we can make changes in financial technology, then we can open up more doors to help more people build their own wealth, and that is what we're trying to do.
Cool. So entrepreneurship is not only about owning a business, it's also about leadership.
Yeah.
You've been a leader for a very long time. You've had a lot of people invest in you because of your leadership. What lessons have you learned along the way that you think would be helpful for the folks here today?
I would say that the first thing is that there's nothing more important than maintaining your integrity. Because at this stage of the business, you are dealing with people's money and people's time. which you could say that they're both kind of the same thing. You have investors that are expecting you to deliver good or bad news when you said you would. You have customers who are expecting a certain quality of product, and then you have people that are giving you their life to work on your project. Like, I, as a founder and as a leader, do not take people working for equity very lightly, because they can do 1,000 things, and yet they're up in the middle of the night working on this project. And so integrity is the first thing that I would say that I have taken, and then the second is just to be really accountable, even to the point of your own personal pain. There have been times where I have financed things out of my own personal budget just to make sure that those who I said we would do this, that we would be able to do it. Because when you're at this stage of the company, those are your two currencies. It's either your integrity or you being accountable. And if you can deliver on those two things, then, of course, with traction, you could have investors and press and success and all those things. But it really starts off with the personal development of the founder in order to make the company to be successful.
Wow. We're going to turn it over for questions. Go ahead.
What was your biggest mistake to date?
The biggest mistake to date? Man, you mean in my life? I would say that the biggest mistake in terms of Freeman has been kind of what he alluded to, which was having a happy path to success and not anticipating more obstacles. As he stated, I have spent 50 grand of my own money in the first year, thinking that we would be able to just get right out there. But being the first automated retail platform that's offering currency investments, I did not anticipate that maybe the regulators might want to spend some time with me. And so, that's probably been the first thing that I really had to understand, and that's probably the biggest mistake so far. But we learned from it, so it's hard for me to really call it a mistake. So, it was one in the back first.
Yes. First of all, I would say it's fantastic to see the two of you up there on this platform as a tech program, and having two black men in tech and entrepreneurship here is fantastic. So I love it. And the question is about your culture. And so I know, having researched that your products have a bit of a background, the names of your products. Can you tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, so our first set of products in the currency space, they are actually named after a community that was in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So prior to integration, there was a community of African Americans who built up a lot of wealth, and it's labeled like Black Wall Street. And so we actually named our first set of programs after the streets of that community, because this was a group of people that did not have access to certain tools, but they were able to build wealth. And that is what we are trying to do for everyone, is that we want to take that same mentality of opening up doors so that we all have a chance to make life a little bit better.
Wow.
It was right here?
Yeah. This gentleman, then we'll come to you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
One of the things that he said was that leadership was in your DNA, because you've been doing this kind of thing for a long time.
Right.
But let's say that's not you, but you want to do entrepreneurship. Can someone who has never rallied together 800 people for a cause learn how to be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I think that even the term leadership is in your DNA, it's very catchy, but it really, to me, it means that it's been practiced for a lot of years. So, it doesn't matter if you came from a family of being leaders. That just means that you might have had a little bit more exposure. So if you are not on that end of the spectrum, then you just have some homework to do. It's time to study leaders, great leaders, and really, really understand what made them great. And really, at the end of the day, leadership, at least from my perspective, is nothing more than building a team and each and every person understanding what do they want out of life and this opportunity, and then giving them a platform to do that. And if you can do those two things, it doesn't matter if you've managed 700 people or you. If you can take time to listen to people and understand what do they want in their purpose in life, and you give them an opportunity to do that, then you will be helping them to become better, and to me, that's being a leader.
So Calvin, I know something about your product, but people that are listening or in the room may
Right.
not know something about your product. So
Right.
say we have Tina and we have Dan,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to do something with Freeman Capital. So maybe you could describe who Tina and Dan are and what their aspirations might be, just in
Yeah.
short form.
Yeah, so basically, what we do is that if you have someone like Tina or Dan, they are probably either working a day job, just saving up their money, or perhaps they're working a job and they have a side job, so they're trying to get ahead the best that they can, and they are looking for someone to help them get to the next level. So they can come to our platform, freemancapital.co, and they can get some education on investing, but also have that burden lifted off of them and have us actively manage their funds. So what that means is that they can go through a short sign-up process. It's about 3 steps. And then by that, we then understand what type of investor they are and what investment programs we should put them in. They can put their money right into our platform, and we only charge them fees when we have made them money. That is how our platform works.
But they don't have to be an accredited investor.
No,
Is the
that's a
format
very
like
big
you?
thing. Yes, they do not have to be a accredited investor. This is something built for us. Those who are not there yet, but are retail investors, you are not a millionaire yet, although we'll happily take them, but it's built for the 158 million people in America who have some assets, but not $250,000 to have a personal, professional, active wealth manager.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Up front?
How did you know when to go from a lean business model where you're kind of in the weeds doing everything yourself
Yeah.
to saying, hey, I'm not a subject matter expert in this, and I need to hire a market research firm to see whether or not this idea is worth pursuing?
So I would say that one, and I see that you're familiar with this because you said lean business model, but you really start with that minimal viable product, or MVP, which is the most simplest version of your idea. So we built a one-page web page, a one-page whatever, and it was crappy. I mean, it was just a form that said, we are offering active wealth management services. Sign up if you want more information. But over 2,000 people filled out that form. And so then we found out, okay, let's go to the next step. And so we kept taking step by step. And then one, personally, because you are now not sleeping, you're getting tired and sick. So it's like physically your body will then say you are doing too much. So it's time for you to, find some help. I have gotten a little bit better at that now. And so now what I am doing now, once you have your kind of core team, is that you can look out into your strategy of what you are trying to do for the next 3 to 9 months. And do you have the resources in-house to do that? Can you develop those skills? If not, then you have to go out and find someone else to help you reach those goals. In the back?
Yes, who do you see as your competitors in fintech or financial services right now? How are you keeping your eyes on the marketplace to shift and evolve? And are there any other players beyond financial that you admire and that you watch?
Yes, that's a 2-part question, so I'll tackle them in sections. The first, that there are, of course, the big banks and things. They have a lot of resources, but they are not providing active wealth management. What they're doing is they are offering what's called an ETF, a electronic traded fund, and they're basically putting their customers into those funds, and then they just buy and hold. And then you have a new crop of fintech firms like Betterment and Wealthfront who are doing very well. They got like $10 billion assets under management. But the big difference there is that they don't make their own financial products. They are reselling products from like BlackRock and Vanguard. And so they have very little control over how those products can work for the customers. The thing that we are doing very different to both of those is one, our fee model is totally different. You know, when you have to pay BlackRock or Vanguard a fee off of, you know, using their system, you can't go and align your business model to the customers like how we have with our no fee guarantee. But because we actually control the whole end-to-end process, we have more freedom. Second, they are only putting people in the US stock market, which sounds good until the US stock market is no longer doing well. And we are at a state where we've had a run up of about 8 or 9 years, and so they are predicting another turn. Now, if you're wealthy, you call up your wealth manager and say, hey, diversify my wealth because I'm not trying to take this huge, loss. If you're a regular person, what do you do? Betterment and Wealthfront, they don't have a solution to that problem. We do because we have other asset classes, and we are the first to do that. Right here?
Calvin, given the advent of more regulations coming since the recession especially,
Yeah.
how do you fight this when you're trying to provide product to middle income, lower income people?
So,
You're trying to get a return that's better than just putting it in.
yeah, so you really cannot fight it because they are a juggernaut, but it really comes down to understanding how can you position the products within the regulation to meet the needs of the customer. So we spent a lot of time, we actually have 2 compliance firms that help us to navigate those waters. And then we really pay a lot of attention to how can we leverage technology to help solve some of the gaps and then provide those solutions to our end users.
Last question.
I know you mentioned that you wish that you had not spent as much money as you did in the beginning. So as a founder and an entrepreneur, and as someone who has expertise in the financial industry, what would you say is the must-have investment for new businesses?
Just generally, no industry specific, it's gonna keep it general.
Business you should definitely invest in.
I would say that the number one thing that I would study or spend money on would actually be the market research. Because when you can understand not just your gut feeling on why this is a good idea, but you can back that up with countless reports, and then you yourself have talked to hundreds, if not thousands of people, then your level of confidence in your area increases, and you can be a better entrepreneur.
Well, thank you, Calvin.